Welcome, anybody that listens to this. I'm kind of sick, so my voice is a little hoarse. This is part 6 of the unseen clips of the 2016 deposition that Incredibly Average has been releasing. I put Incredibly Average's link in the description, as well as his co-host Jax's. Her channel's Movie Myths and Monsters, so you can find that in the description. And here we go. This is me making sure it's at 1.25 because I cannot take listening to or watching it at normal speed.
Time is approximately 4:39 p.m. and we're back on the record.
Ms. Heard, you claimed in your declaration that when Johnny
I notice she's always doing those hard blinks. I understand she's probably tired, but it's just weird.
arrived, your friend Elizabeth was there, correct? Was present, you said. Okay.
Yes.
Do you remember where you were when Johnny arrived?
On May 21st?
Correct.
Yes, I was in the living room.
Is that the living room of Penthouse 3?
Yes, living room of Penthouse 3.
When Johnny arrived, did he come in the door of Penthouse 3?
Yes.
Okay. And isn't it correct, Ms. Hurt, that Elizabeth Mars was in fact not with you in Penthouse 3 at that time?
She was present, she was just not in the room.
Okay. Was she in Penthouse?
Now, we saw her answer before they took their little break about Elizabeth Mars being there or not, and she was like, but she was there. So clearly her attorney has prepared her to just say she was there, but she was just not in the room, because she went into a big description about how the penthouses are conjoining and all this other convoluted information that was entirely unnecessary to avoid what she said being blatantly inaccurate or different than what she stated in the declaration.
3 at that time.
I'm not quite sure because all the penthouses connect.
Isn't it true, Ms. Hurd, that at the time Johnny's arrival, you could not see Elizabeth Mars at all?
True.
Okay. Isn't it true at the time Johnny arrived, you could not see your friend Raquel Pennington at all?
True.
Isn't it true, Ms. Hurd, that at the time Johnny arrived, you could not see your...
See, the whole Rocky thing, I've seen that she was hiding in the closet. I've seen Amber say she was in the bed at one point. I'm not sure when she left. That's not made clear. I guess she was always there because she was living there. That confuses me, and I don't believe anything she says about it. I'm going to have to try to figure out. I guess I believe that she was probably hiding.
Raquel's fiance, Josh Drew, at all?
True.
Who owns the apartment in which you refer as an adjacent apartment where Raquel and Joshua live?
My ex-husband, Johnny.
He lives in that apartment?
Oh, I thought you asked me who owned it.
Okay, who owns that apartment?
My ex, Johnny Depp.
Okay, and at the time on May 21, 2016,
This next part is crazy because I'd never heard that Rocky and Josh had lived with Johnny before Amber did. I don't know where to confirm that, but that's strange to me. I don't know if it's true, but strange.
were Raquel Pennington and Joshua Drew living in the apartment that Johnny owns?
Yes, they were.
Okay. Were they paying any rent?
Not that I know of.
How long had they lived there?
I'm not sure.
Had they lived there prior to you living there?
Yes.
How long had they lived there prior to you living there?
I'm not quite sure. I don't remember.
Okay. And to your knowledge, did they ever pay rent during the entire time they've lived in Mr. Depp's apartment?
Calls for speculation.
If you know.
Man, they scored the best pad or deal of their lifetime. Johnny's just letting them all live there rent-free. Wow.
I don't know. That was an arrangement between them. Between Johnny, who invited them, and them, who accepted.
Okay. When you claim that when Johnny arrived, you were having at first a peaceful conversation about his mother's death, correct?
Yes.
And then you...
For some reason, she forgot that part of her story, that was part of her declaration, because of course she has to put in there that she was consoling him, even though when she verbally described it in the last part of the deposition, she was just going straight into how he was a raging maniac. Everything's strategic, in my opinion. But because what happened didn't go down the way she said it went down, either in her declaration or how she verbally explains it. It's hard to remember for her what to say because it isn't from memory. It's what she's falsifying, in my opinion.
Tried to comfort him as you sat on the couch, and that would be in penthouse 3?
Yes.
And then suddenly he began obsessing about something that was untrue.
Yes.
Isn't it true what he was obsessing about, but what you do not say here is the feces that had been found in his bed after you left on April 22nd?
Can you clarify that question, please?
Yes. When you were referring to him obsessing at that time about something that was untrue, isn't it correct that what he was obsessing about, this thing you were referring to, is that he was informed that feces had been found in his bed after you left on April 22nd?
No.
What was he obsessing about that was untrue, as you say in this?
So yes, the feces talk continues, but what's worse than that to me, and even more so than her pooping on the bed, is that she literally gaslights Johnny into thinking that he's delusional, thinking that it was human feces. That's like the worst gaslighting I've ever seen. I believe that Amber was Johnny's only delusion.
Declaration.
Johnny was obsessing about the fact that he believed, as he put it, my friends, with my knowledge and support, intentionally.
Watch her face when she says, left that feces, and how she's almost going into a straight smile. So no more Duper's delight, but she looks like she's actually relishing or enjoying the recollection. It's sick.
Left that feces in the bed that I sleep in when we fight, and in the apartment where I stay under these circumstances, the bed that would have been cleaned immediately after and long before he would have.
So does she want a reward for having pooped in the bed that she only sleeps in when they fight? I'm not understanding this. And she's trying to make it seem like it would have been cleaned up far before he ever saw it, when she did it so that he would find it, and is resentful towards Hilda, the housekeeper, because Hilda brought it to Johnny's attention, or to the other housekeeper's attention that brought it to Johnny's attention. And her and her friends thought it was like a funny joke, in my opinion.
Ever returned. And we had done so on the morning of my 30th birthday as a big joke, like a bunch of 30-year-old women do.
So am I correct that he was obsessing about things related to the feces that had been left in the bed?
What's untrue is, and what I assumed at the time was delusional, was that he thought it was human feces.
This should seriously be a psych study or an exhibit for the epitome of gaslighting. Her having suggested he was delusional about it being human feces. It's insane.
And because I knew that to be impossible for for a number of reasons.
She always says that for what I only could, whatever, for a lot of things, but it trips her up that time. And yes, if you know it's impossible, then you know about the scenario completely. You can't know it's impossible without knowing for sure. And how would you know? Did you have it tested, Amber?
How did you know it was impossible if you didn't know about the feces?
Because he had told me about it on the phone a month prior, and I assumed.
So she goes from the certainty of impossibility to assumptions. And watch her face right here. Her Duper's delight and her smile, suggesting it's in a delusion again.
It was a delusion that was going to pass and go away, like some of these delusions when he's high do.
Say she believed it truly was a delusion, which we know she doesn't, in my opinion. She knows it's not a delusion. But imagine somebody talking about mental illness like that. How awful.
And then when he brought it back up, instead of talking about his mother's death, I worried that it was a little bit more serious and that his mental condition had deteriorated. And I knew it was not human.
Wow, so the epitome of gaslighting. So say somebody sees something happen and they respond to it, but the gaslighter doesn't like the response, so they try to convince the person that they're crazy and that it's not happening. It's exactly what she's doing here.
Human because the only people in bed were myself and Raquel. And if Raquel and I were the only humans in that bed in that morning, then I could only deduce that it was what it normally is. Which is our dog Boo. I wasn't that, sorry. That it was our dog Boo, and it seemed so unbelievable, disgusting, outrageous, and incredible that it stuck for the entire month in his head.
No, what's disgusting is you thinking it's more disgusting he thinks it's human feces over you not thinking it's that big of a deal, apparently, that your dog poops in the bed every night. That's not disgusting, though. Right.
I became worried.
Isn't it true that when you after you say you had comforted Johnny about the death of his mother, and you claimed...
In this next part, she double takes at her lawyer because she wants him so badly to say a reason for her not to have to answer, in my opinion.
In your declaration that he began obsessing about something that was untrue, you knew exactly he was referring to the feces, correct?
Argumentative.
You knew he was referring to the feces, correct?
Yes, that's exactly what it was.
He objects and says that it's argumentative, but Amber answers it anyway. So what's the point? And how she lowers her tone when she's speaking at certain points is creepy.
And isn't it true at that time, Ms. Heard, that the human feces in the bed is the reason Johnny told you at that time that he wanted a divorce from you?
Objection. It misstates the testimony. It assumes facts, not evidence. You keep calling it human feces.
Isn't it true, Ms. Heard, that at the
at her
time
face.
you were discussing
Smirking like
this
that.
feces with Johnny, you had already spoken to Hilda Vargas at his other home?
No.
You did not speak to Hilda Vargas before
No.
May 21, 2016 about feces?
No. I spoke to her after I filed for divorce.
Your testimony...
Or around that time, and this was before then.
Is your testimony here today that you spoke with Hilda Vargas in this conversation we discussed about the feces at the Sweetser house after the time you filed for divorce or before?
It was right around that time, within a day or two.
Would it be fair to say that under any circumstances it was after May 21 you now claim you spoke with Hilda Vargas?
What do you mean I now claim?
Well, you are
Did I
claiming
claim
here today.
otherwise?
You are claiming here today.
Argumentative. Just
Did I claim otherwise? Her claims always change, so it's even hard for her to keep up. And I believe it was 2 parts ago of Incredibly Average's releases that it was talked about how Amber had text or talked to Hilda saying that her sharing the poop on the bed was what ruined her and Johnny's marriage. How absurd and awful for her to put that on the housekeeper.
ask your questions and please don't be argumentative
Is it
about
your testimony that you spoke to Hilda Vargas about your marriage and the feces after May 21, 2016?
I believe so.
Isn't it true, Ms. Heard, that while you were sitting on the couch discussing the feces with Mr. Depp, that in fact you demanded and got Kevin Murphy on the phone?
Are you asking me if it's true if I demanded?
No. Did you speak to Kevin Murphy in and around your conversation with Johnny Depp on the couch at that time?
In an attempt to assuage his delusion, I thought a sane voice.
Oh my gosh, her saying assuage his delusion triggered me the first time I saw this and triggered me now. It's so condescending and gross.
Might be able to shine some light on what I thought was a crazy delusion and something that could have been easily rationalized.
She said rationed, easily rationed. Nobody wants what you did on that bed rationed. And there is no rationale about it, period. And this only exhibits how far she'll go to protect a lie, because she admitted to it being a quote-unquote prank. And people attested to that during the trial. But she white knuckles about stuff.
A sane voice.
You finished?
Yes, I am.
Okay. Miss Hurd, isn't it the
Ew, look
truth
at that
that at the
smile.
time you got Kevin Murphy, you spoke to Kevin Murphy on the phone while you were sitting there with Johnny, you had previously told Kevin Murphy that you did know about the feces and it had been a, quote, harmless prank, end quote.
Absolutely not. That's not true.
Have you ever at any time since April 21 referred to this feces being on your bed as a prank
Never.
to any other person, Mr. Murphy or any other individual?
Never.
And Ms. Hurd, isn't it true that as you got Kevin Murphy on the phone, you specifically discussed the feces, correct?
As I stated before, I was trying to assuage Johnny's, what I could only imagine was a delusion, because he knows very well that Boo does this a lot. So I thought Kevin would be able to.
It's more delusional to think that two celebrities are okay with their dog just pooping in the bed every night and that it's just a thing and that they wouldn't have the dog trained by some like high cost trainers or something and that she actually thinks that people will just believe that even after her admitting it. It's insulting, really.
Put this delusion to rest and we can move on.
Okay. Was Kevin Murphy the only...
Oh my God, can you imagine living with someone who would do really messed up stuff and then when you have a natural response to it, they mind F you into thinking it never happened or manipulate you into thinking it isn't true and actually having their friends participate in making it seem like you're deluded? That's cruel.
the first other person you spoke to after this conversation turned to feces?
Vague and ambiguous.
Other than Johnny Depp?
Was he the first person I spoke to after speaking to Johnny about this?
Yes.
Feces. I believe he was the first call.
And did you call him or did Johnny call him?
I can't remember.
Okay.
I
Did-
can't
guess.
remember.
Did you use your
So that was a clear indication that she does remember, but she's going to pretend she doesn't so she doesn't have to answer.
phone?
I can't
to call
remember.
him? Did you ever look for any indication that you had used your phone on your phone?
No.
Okay. And is it true that you claim in your declaration that it was at this time that you began to have concerns for your safety and sent a text to your friend Raquel, who was at the condominium next door?
Vague and ambiguous.
Or she was in the closet.
Yes. I started, that's when the conversation started to become, when he started to show signs of rage and mania, and I started to recognize the emergence of a problem. And Raquel had been worried about me. Before I walked in there, I saw her and Elizabeth and Josh, and they said, please keep us updated. They were very worried for my safety, knowing how physical and dangerous it could
Miss
become.
Hurd,
All she was asked was if she texted Raquel. Yes or no. All of this other stuff is extraneous feedback.
excuse me,
You
I'm going to have to
interrupted her.
object as non-responsive and move to strike.
I'm
Ms.
just-
Hurd,
I'm
I'm
just
going to
gonna-
ask you.
excuse me.
No, I'm sorry,
No,
Mr. Harder.
no.
We have a very limited time, and I've indulged you, but
No.
Oh, we finally see the man behind the voice. He looks like he probably wears Dracar Noir or Cool Water.
you have
sorry.
repeatedly.
One at a time, though.
Sure, you've repeatedly obstructed these proceedings.
That's not true.
With inappropriate and improper speaking objections.
Not true.
And objections that are not appropriate for deposition
Not true.
proceedings.
Not true.
And I would
Not true. Not true.
like to proceed and not be obstructed, so I'm going to continue asking
You
questions.
keep giving your speeches,
Ms.
and
Hurd,
I'm going to give one
Ms.
sentence,
Hurd.
which is,
At the time that,
she was interrupted in her answer, and your motion to strike is improper. Go
have you
ahead.
completed your answer?
Well, she doesn't remember what it is now,
That's
with all that
true.
arguing that you had to do.
Do you believe you were interrupted with your answer?
I do.
Okay. I'm going to ask you one more time, okay? When you claimed that you began to have concerns for your safety, was Kevin Murphy still on the phone?
Vague.
No.
So you didn't have any concerns for your safety when you were talking to Kevin Murphy, correct?
Argumentative and vague.
Quick question. How is Raquel going to help the situation? Why would she be text if Amber was concerned for her safety? Kevin Murphy would be more resourceful if she felt she was in danger.
I don't know. I don't know.
Isn't it true when you were on the phone with you and Johnny, with you and Kevin Murphy and Johnny, that you told Kevin that it was a harmless prank?
I noticed that when Amber's caught in a lie, she does that blank stare, like dead-eyed stare, no blinking. Watch for it.
Asked and answered.
Absolutely not.
Okay. Isn't it true that you, in fact, during that conversation with Kevin Murphy, with Johnny there, screamed in a raised voice at Kevin Murphy that he was a liar?
That's absolutely not true.
You never called Kevin Murphy a liar during that conversation.
Absolutely not true. I texted Kevin after and I said, do you realize how complicated that answer you gave and how unclear it was? Why would you convey an untruth like that? Why would you say that? What have I ever done to you to make you say this? Is there something
An untruth. Interesting verbiage.
I'm missing here?
Okay.
But that was a text message, and I never accused.
Did you
She
save,
didn't ask about a text.
Did you save that text?
I did not erase it.
You did not erase it?
I did not erase
Okay.
it.
When did you send that text?
Right after the conversation.
Okay. And you still have that text?
I'm sure I do.
Okay. Could you do us a favor and provide that text?
Sure.
Okay.
Bet she never does.
And have you ever tried to locate that text before today?
No.
Did you ever believe that you were supposed to locate any texts between you and Kevin Murphy
No, I
relating to this, what you described about your communication with him?
It's so creepy. He's about to whisper, listen to the question again, which he's said like 5 million times already.
No.
You then continue on your declaration and claim that as Johnny continued to rant in an aggressive manner, he then demanded we call Io Tillett.
So the next part is Starling testifying about Amber having told him that it was a prank in the 2022 defamation trial.
Any discussions with Miss Heard on the way to Coachella that evening?
We had a conversation pertaining to the surprise she left in the boss's bed prior to leaving the apartment.
And when you refer to the surprise in the boss's bed, what are you referring to?
The defecation.
And what did Miss Heard
When it switches to the camera view showing Amber, look at the smirk on her face. It's disgusting.
say about the defecation in Mr. Depp's bed?
A horrible practical joke gone wrong.
So here's some of the documents that Brian and Jack shared during the live to support what they were talking about. And it says on May 12, 2016, I received a text and then a telephone call from Amber. A true and correct copy of the text message in which she asked if she could call me is attached as Exhibit C. When I spoke with Amber, she sounded very angry. She told me that she needed her privacy, that she and Johnny were having problems, and that my sending the picture from Hilda was not helping with those problems. She also told me that leaving the feces in Johnny's bed had been just a harmless prank. In addition, she told me that she was thinking of changing the locks to the condominium. I advised her that I would change the locks if both Johnny and she agreed. On May 21st, 2016, at approximately 7:46 p.m., I received a telephone call from both Johnny and Amber, who were on speakerphone together. Johnny told me that he was sitting there talking to Amber, and he asked me to recount to Amber what I had previously told him about the feces incident the month before. I repeated to Amber that Hilda had discovered feces on top of the bed sheet in Johnny and Amber's bed, and I had also personally gone over to view the feces on the bed and was 100% certain that it did not look like either of the dogs, but rather appeared to be human feces. I also repeated that Amber had admitted to me she was responsible for what she referred to as just a harmless prank. Amber yelled and cursed at me several times, calling me an effing liar over and over. I asked her to stop yelling and swearing at me. I also heard Johnny in the background quietly saying, "Please don't speak to him that way, be respectful." Then I heard Johnny say that he couldn't do this anymore and wanted a divorce. When Amber would not stop screaming, I hung up the telephone. I received multiple additional telephone calls from the same number in the minutes that followed, but I refused to answer them and take further abuse. And this part of the document just further exhibits or proves that she definitely abused Hilda for sure after having exposed her having pooped on the bed, in my opinion. Because it says, 5 months later, on May 24, 2016, I interacted closely with Miss Heard in Mr. Depp's house in West Hollywood. I went to the house around noon and encountered Amber Heard. Miss Heard was not wearing makeup. There was no visible marks, bruises, cuts, or injuries to her face or any part of her body. Or any other part of her body. She came to me at the bottom of the staircase in Mr. Depp's house and gave me a hug, sobbing. After hugging me, she began to yell at Mr. Depp's housekeeper, Hilda Vargas. God, can you imagine? Poor Hilda being her. dealing with that. And then after Amber having pooped on the bed, allegedly, she probably blamed Hilda for everything.
Yes.
Is that true?
Yes.
And he wanted to do that to prove that you had left feces in his bed, correct?
Vague and ambiguous. Calls for speculation.
You wanted to call Io Tillett to prove, he wanted you to call Io Tillett to prove that you had left, in fact, feces in his bed.
Vague and ambiguous, argumentative. You keep asking the same thing over and over about feces, and it's been answered like 20 times now.
Are you going to answer my question?
Be sure you understand what the question.
He's going to remind her to listen to the question. Be sure you understand the question before you answer it again for the 5 millionth one time. But it sounds like at this point, Io might have told the truth, regardless of whether or not Amber wanted him to, because it sounds like Johnny was encouraging her to call Io, because Io would admit she had done it. So that's interesting.
The question you're asking me if the call to Io was intended to clarify or to talk about the dog shit and the dog feces in the bed.
Okay.
Right?
Did you
Just wait for the next
Did you
question.
say in your declaration that as Johnny continued to rant in an aggressive and incoherent manner, he...
Notice he's coaching her. He's like pointing with his pen so that she doesn't differ from the declaration and what she says now.
then demanded we call our friend Io Tillett Wright to prove his paranoid and irrational accusations about some delusional idea he was having.
Document speaks for itself.
Did you say that in your declaration?
It's in my declaration. Yes.
Is it the truth?
Yes.
Okay. So you did call Io Tillett to discuss the claim that you had left feces in Johnny's bed, correct?
The way you just worded that is to insinuate that we were calling to prove that we had left.
Well, the declaration says that.
She can't help smirking or straight up smiling whenever she says delusional or delusional idea or delusion. Sick.
Which is why I
No,
said
it
that.
says about some delusional idea. It does not say.
Is it your testimony here today? Please let the record reflect that the witness is smiling. That
She's not. What are you talking
is
about?
it your testimony here today that when Johnny demanded you call Io Tillett Wright on the evening where you were sitting with him and May 21, 2016, that he was asking you to call Io Tillett for some other reason than to discuss the feces left in the bed?
Vague and unintelligible.
Do you understand?
At the time,
Her lawyer might not understand, but she understands the questions.
Johnny was convinced that it was Io that had left human feces in the bed. And he was sure that Io was there at the house that morning because he thought she was there the day before at my birthday party, neither of which are true. He had a delusion that she was there, and she was never there. She was never there that morning. She was not there the night before my birthday party. So to clarify, we called her. She was in fact in New York.
About the feces?
Yes, so I thought...
I'll move on. Miss...
It's 5 p.m. and you can tell Miss Burke is losing her patience. She shut Amber down with, "I'll move on."
Heard, you said in your declaration that when you began having concerns for your safety, you said that he began to break things in the apartment.
Yes.
Is that true?
Sorry, can you repeat that?
Yes. You say in your declaration that after you demanded you called Io, he started to grab things and break things in the apartment. Is that true?
Which line?
Okay, we can go line by line if you like.
It's easier.
Did you call Io Tillett Wright at that time?
Yes, we called someone else first. We called Savannah first because he also thought she was there.
Did you speak to Savannah?
No.
Notice how she says he also thought she was there. He probably thought she was hiding in the closet or something. She probably had Johnny thinking he was going crazy.
Okay. Did you place the call to Io or did Johnny?
I can't remember.
Okay. And prior...
I'm sorry. I believe it was me placing the call. I believe it was me placing the call.
Okay. Prior to you placing that call to Io Tillett Wright, had Johnny broken anything in the living area where you were in Penthouse 3
Vague as to time.
on May 21, 2016 to that moment?
Vague.
Can you answer the question?
Are you asking me if he broke anything on that date?
Where you were in that room?
At what point?
Any time since he arrived that night?
Vague as to time.
Up until. What? I'm sorry. Can you
Ms.
repeat the
Hurd,
question?
when you were calling I.O. Wright, do you claim that Johnny had broken a single thing in or around your apartment that you were aware of?
Before calling IO?
Correct.
I don't know. I don't think so.
Wow, so maybe I'm misunderstanding, but she just admitted that Johnny hadn't broken anything before calling IO. But she called IO to say, call 911, my life's in danger. And he called all the way from New York. Okay.
Is there any wine spilled anywhere that you were aware of prior to calling I.O. Wright?
Not that I'm aware of.
Was there
But
any
he did
blood-
walk in holding a Magnum bottle, and it was opened. So I don't know if something spilled.
So now she's even more uncertain of what was broken, what was not, but she sure has to insert that Magnum-sized bottle again.
Was there any broken glass of any kind prior to calling I.O. Wright?
Calls for speculation.
To your knowledge, that
To your knowledge, not what you're reciting from your declaration as you're staring at it to remember what you said. Look at her.
you saw.
I can't remember.
During the call with I.O. Wright, please tell us exactly what happened.
She picked up the phone, and I said, hey, babe, just for clarity, I'm here with Johnny. He's upset about some things. Can you just clarify and we can put some things to bed? She said,
One of my first few videos about this was an op-ed I had found written by IO, and it was triggering AF. Talked about Johnny beating Amber's face in, trigger warning, I'm sorry, but it was really graphic. But it's since been scrubbed from the internet. You can't find the article. It was for Refinery 29. However, Entertainment Tonight did a short about it and covering the abuse allegations. And there's still a video on YouTube. So I made a short of that. And before I had made that short, I had never gotten, not that it is like very important to me, but I had never gotten any dislikes on my channel or my videos yet. And within 10 minutes of posting that little short, which was like 40 seconds, I had 20 likes and 19 dislikes, which normally it's like a 10% to 100% or 10 out of 100 dislikes. So that was crazy. And then ever since that point, I pretty much would get a certain number on all my videos, but I don't think a lot of people know how much he contributed to that narrative. Much more than I saw Rocky verbally doing it in the press, actually. And all I said was, the point of it was asking, oh, Io wrote an op-ed too? That's all. Wasn't like I was smearing him.
what? And I said, were you over here on the morning of my birthday? And she said, why are you asking me that? And of course I wasn't. I met you in Palm Springs. And I said, I'm here with Johnny, and he's upset about something, and I just want to put it to bed. And she said, no, I don't know if she got much more out because he started screaming, grabbed the phone out of my hand. She was on speakerphone. And he started yelling at her.
Were you holding the phone prior to the phone that you were speaking to Io Tillett on?
Yeah.
Okay. And you claim that he then grabbed the phone for you, from you?
He grabbed the phone from me, and then before he went upstairs, presumably to pack a bag or get some of his things, as he indicated to me, he tossed it tossed it in my direction or something on the table or on the couch. I can't remember which. Picked it up and I said, "Oh my God, Io." I can't remember if the call disconnected and it was two separate calls or if it was one call, but I remember saying to Io, "Oh my God, I'm so sorry. I did not call you to get screamed at," because she answered the phone, the poor thing, without any real expectation, just started being screamed at by Johnny in this way, and I didn't want to make it seem like I called.
Look how she says, "Oh my God, Io," like all dramatic like that. And so those that don't know, Io went by she at this point. So when she's saying she means Io. He hadn't transitioned yet. He now goes by he. So in case someone didn't know that, it can be a little confusing. I should have said that earlier.
Her for a setup to just be yelled at, and he was saying, you know, you dyke bitch, you know, your 10-cent words and your fucking book deal and your fucking sell out my family, you know, just the worst things that you can, expletives and very personal things to her situation. And he started to go upstairs, and I had the phone in my hand again, and I'm on speakerphone, and he makes it upstairs, makes it partway up the stairs, and she says, It does not sound safe. Get out before it gets worse this time. Get out of there. Get out. It's not safe. And all of my friends who are informed of our history.
So let me get this straight. She just said that nothing was broken. She saw Johnny walk in with an unopened bottle of wine, a Magnum-sized bottle of wine. But nothing had been broken to her knowledge that she could remember. I know she was trying to cheat with her little cliff notes there. But then Johnny accuses Io of using him or their business to get a book deal, stuff about his family, etc. And that's what brought them to the conclusion that it wasn't safe. Okie dokie.
Are very, 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 very scared of me being alone in a room with him when there are things wrong, when we're fighting, when we're working things out, and when he's using.
Yet they all live there, under his roof, rent-free. Make it make sense.
So she was very clear and on speakerphone saying, get out of the house, it's not safe, it doesn't sound safe, get out. And he heard it, and it was it was like a he turned around, bolted back down the stairs, grabbed the phone, and started screaming at her.
Wow. Unfortunately, the Oscar or the Emmy for writing this scenario does not go to you. So I added some effects to maybe try to make this sound more scary. Her cross-legged tail.
Even louder this time and even worse this time, and really lit into her. And I'm sitting on the couch. I haven't even gotten up off the couch. My legs are cross-legged. And he
I think she thinks inserting little details like that will make it sound more believable, but it doesn't.
He says, "You want her so much, you dyke bitch. You want to be her man now. You want to be a man to her now. You can fucking have her." And he winds up his hand. He winds his arm back, and he throws the phone at me, and it.
Oh, like Popeye, why I oughta. In this part, what felt like the eye? My eye. Yeah.
Hits me, bam, right in the what felt like the eye, and it just felt like this pop. Or what I thought was a pop, and it just felt,
All she can come up with is that it felt like a pop, and then there are no other adjectives or adverbs. I can tell you that when I was little, my brother accidentally jumped on my face when I was in the pool, and he did a cannonball off the deck, and it felt like my nose was gone, and my nose was bleeding everywhere. It was an accident. But it literally felt like I had no nose on my face. It was bizarre. But she can't even, I don't know.
I put my head in my hands, and when I had my head covered, I didn't know what he was doing or where it was going, but I had my head down, and I was saying, I think I was crying, and I said, "You've hit me," and I could hear him.
Anyone else notice how she always suggests that she said, "Oh my God, Johnny, you hit me," every single time? It's not like it was the first time, but every time it's like the first time she tells him, "I can't believe you hit me," and she tells him where he hit her. From my experience and speaking to real survivors, their abuser doesn't need to be told that they hit them. They damn well know, and they likely don't care. So this part, when she does this, it never makes sense to me.
Yelling and knocking things over, and I wanted him to know that that he had hurt me, because sometimes he wouldn't remember these incidences. And so I remember I said, Johnny, it hit me in the eye, and
Oh my God, just like the feces, I wonder how many times he was messed up and she told him he hit her, even when he didn't. And if he said that never happened, she probably went into telling him he was deluded and having delusions again. Wow.
I don't know if it felt like it just felt like.
Watch this next part when Miss Burke goes to ask her a question and kind of cuts her off, and she still has her hand up by her face, and it's like somebody says, "And scene," and she stops. So creepy.
It felt like my eye, or it could have been my eye, and I didn't know,
Okay, before we get to the injuries, let me just ask you about what you say happened with Miss Tillett Wright.
Sure.
Was she on the phone during all of this?
Yes, but at the time I wasn't sure, because the phone, after it impacted my face, fell on the ground.
Okay. Isn't it true that, Ms. Hurd, you yelled to Tillett Wright to call 911?
I don't remember yelling that. I'm sure. I'm sure I yelled, help, help. I don't know. It was traumatic.
Isn't it the truth, Ms. Hurd, that you swore in your declaration at line 11, page 3, that I then yelled out, quote, call 911, end quote?
Yeah, then I said that. This was taken immediately after, and it's been a while.
Okay, so you did yell for Tillett Wright to call 911,
Yeah.
correct?
Yeah.
Okay, but didn't you testify earlier that you had kept these abuse allegations secret?
Not from everybody.
Okay.
There
so,
was a, like I said,
Not from everybody. I hate how she says that, but yeah, prior she said that it became so bad that she couldn't keep it from her inner circle anymore. There was no concealing it. But her inner circle, they all lived with them. So I'd like to see a scenario where a raging abusive maniac lives with their victim and the group of people living with them have no idea.
said earlier to you, my select group was starting to become more and more informed of it as time went on. So at the very beginning, I would only tell my mom, somebody who understands this sort of situation.
so your mom, you told her that you've been physically abused by Johnny Depp?
Yeah, I would tell her from the almost at the very beginning. I confided in her. That's why I have pictures.
The alleged text I saw between AH and her mom say that Johnny wasn't physical, but that they were toxically fighting. And then I think she compares Johnny to her dad when her dad wasn't sober, and claims that Johnny's like so much worse or something. But I think it like explicitly says that he wasn't physical with her.
Yeah.
So from the very beginning to this incident, May 21, you had confided in your mom?
Yeah, I think I probably hit the first few incidences, but very.
Yeah, so I went and Googled it, and here we go. First thing that comes up. I can't tell Dad. He's nuts, Mom. Violent and crazy. I'm heartbroken that this is who I love. Dealing with Johnny's spiral. It's terrible, Mom. I don't know what to do. It's okay, Mom. He's not being violent with me. He's just even raging in general. So breaking things, in my opinion. And the crazy mood swings and binges are really difficult for me to handle. Yes, that was his biggest offense. He struggled with drug addiction. And it wasn't the perfect fairy tale she'd envisioned or planned for herself. I feel like I'm on a very fascinating train that's about to explode, but I don't want to jump off and leave my love behind, so I stay on the train even though I know it's about to explode. My heart is broken. I'm okay physically. JD didn't hit me or anything last night. I told him that would be if he did, and it worked last night, but I'm scared by what I see and who I see. Now it's Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde on a binge. He makes Dad look like a saint when he falls off the wagon. So that's what I think she's referring to, because they're from 2013. But she's misleading about them, in my opinion.
Very soon into it, I started to tell
Okay. And you confided in other people, including your friends, correct?
therapists until it became problematic.
Okay. When you confided in your therapist, when did you confide in your therapist that you've been a victim of domestic violence?
I'm just going to object on grounds of the therapist privilege.
She's just told us what she told her therapist. Therefore, under the law, she's waived any claim as to privilege for me asking her about what she told her
Well,
therapist.
that may have been inadvertent. I'm asserting it right now. If I didn't catch it the first time. It was probably quick, and I apologize.
Ms. Hurd, when did you have this?
I'd love to hear a lawyer speak on attorney-client privilege and how the parameters for that goes, because it seems as though sometimes she breaks into information that her lawyer, because he like blanket covers everything under attorney-client privilege. If once you talk about something that's considered privilege, if that then opens the other side to asking questions regarding that information, because it seems like sometimes she starts to go into privilege and even her lawyer can't keep up with what he's trying to claim as privilege, because she's constantly saying more than he wants her to or would want her to.
Conversation with your therapist about these events. We don't have to get into the specifics of what you told her or him. When did you have the conversation with your therapist last about these events?
Privilege, don't answer.
I'm asking you for the date or the month.
I don't mind if you ask on what day and month you had a therapist and spoke to a therapist, but when you add in these events, now you're getting into the privilege. So you just need to narrow it down a little bit.
When was the last time prior to May 21 you'd spoken to a therapist?
I don't remember exactly.
Did you have a regular therapist?
We had a couples counselor, or a couples counselor, and I saw someone for about a year by myself as an individual, and then
In the beginning of this, she starts to say she saw a marriage counselor, but then she corrects herself and says she was meant to see it. So she had just started to say that she did see it to validate what she was about to say, as if it were coming from a professional, which she probably used against Johnny. Like, the marriage counselor told me to do this and it's not working, but she never even saw the marriage counselor. So let's see what this version of the truth will be about which therapy she got or they got together or not.
we attempted to have a couples therapist prior to that, but it didn't stick. And then I saw someone on my own at the beginning of Johnny and I's relationship.
Okay. At the point that you were on the phone still with Io Tillett-Wright, was Raquel Pennington ever in Penthouse 5 with you while Io was still on the phone?
I cannot be certain when Io hung up the phone because I was not speaking to Io after the phone was taken from me.
You cannot be certain?
I cannot be certain.
Do you want to read back the answer because you were talking to your colleague
Do
and
you
she gave an
remember,
answer?
Ms. Hurd?
That time he didn't just use his pen to point at the script or declaration. And he reminds her to use that as reference. And look, she's staring right at it.
Whether Raquel Pennington was in the apartment with you in Penthouse 5 at any time while you were still on the phone with Io Tillett-Wright?
I was no longer on the phone with Io Tillett-Wright from the moment he revoked the phone from my hand and threw it at my face.
Okay.
He revoked the phone.
Okay. And from the moment you say in your testimony that Johnny went upstairs,
Started to go upstairs,
and then came back downstairs, the next incident that happened was his physical incident that happened was his throwing a phone, you claim.
Yeah.
Okay. Where do you claim he was when he threw this phone?
By the stairs, by the bottom of the stairs.
And you were on the couch still?
Yes.
Okay. You were sitting on the couch?
I was sitting cross-legged on the
And the distance between the bottom of the stairs and the couch is what?
probably, if I had to measure it in steps, 5 paces from, if I am here, maybe it's easier to do it this way because that's how the room is laid out. I'd say it was from here to the corner of the wall over your right shoulder.
And when you say he threw the phone, was
Maybe
he facing
shoulder.
you or facing away from you?
He was facing me.
And
So he's thrown a Magnum-sized wine bottle, thrown her phone, and then at her face, apparently, and then threw the phone off the 14-story balcony. Got it. And she threw his because he did that, allegedly. Got it.
your testimony is today that he threw the phone at you, correct?
Asked and answered.
Yes? Prior to his throwing the phone at you, was there any other incident of violence that occurred?
Objection, vague and ambiguous.
Had Johnny Depp touched you in any way prior to his throwing the phone?
Wait, Vegas, you
On
mean
May
that day?
21,
Okay.
2016. Was that the first?
He just grabbed the phone out of my hand for the first time, but,
Okay.
it didn't hurt me.
Okay. And was there any other act of violence against you prior to when he went upstairs, came back downstairs, and threw the phone?
I don't know if you count screaming at me,
Okay.
but no.
Other than
Physical.
Okay. Other than screaming, had he broken anything in the apartment yet on the floor?
I'm not sure.
You're not sure?
I'm not sure.
Okay. Had he thrown any bottles prior to you were saying he threw this phone?
I'm not sure. I can't.
I really truly believe that she instigated him and had hoped that he would be physical back after she was, and he didn't, and it would make her even more mad. So instead, she creates a scenario in which she says he did and has her friends participate. And it got worse and worse because he started to leave when she'd get physical, which would activate her fear of abandonment and whatever else dysfunction she has, causing it to become even more toxic. And I'm not saying he's perfect. I'm sure they were both toxic to one another. But I think, yeah.
I remember now. I'm not sure what he did prior to throwing the phone at me.
Okay. Was there any broken glass on the floor where you were prior to his throwing the phone at you?
Was there any broken glass on the floor around?
Anywhere on the floor of the room you both were in prior to when he threw the phone at you that you were aware of?
At this moment, I don't remember there being any.
Okay, okay. And after you say he threw the phone at you, what happened next?
All I remember is him screaming these expletives at my friend Io and telling her that she could have me now, and then he threw his arm back and he threw the phone. What
Okay.
appeared to be very as
In her words, what very well could have been as hard as he could.
hard as he could at my face. Put my head down. I said, "You hit me." I was crying. I said, "Johnny, you hit me," because then I start hearing things being smashed, and I said to him, "Honey, you hit me in the eye, my eye," and I start crying.
So I don't know if this is a scenario where she claims he headbutted her, which I'm not even sure how that's physically possible if you're bear hugging someone from behind and they're also facing the same direction you are, which is their back to your chest. How does someone headbutt somebody when their face is facing the opposite direction? But she claimed that, and then comes back with a tissue with red on it and says, "You broke my nose." And when he waits for her to go throw the tissue away, he smells it and sees, and I'm sure it was noticeably not blood, that it's nail varnish.
And he approaches me, and I don't know if I, in here feeling him approach, anticipate to try to get up, or if I help me up, or if he just did it all by grabbing my hair. But for some reason,
So I'm not sure if this was before or after the phone, but trying to keep up with this unlikely and very hard to follow scenario of her sitting cross-legged on the couch, he comes up and she either helps him help her up, or he pulls her up and might have done it by pulling her up by her hair. It sounds like she's unsure, but let's continue.
I had some aid in getting up off the couch.
Some aid. How gratuitous when describing a physically abusive scenario. I don't know if she's trying to use like big words or what, but every time she does that, it makes it even harder to follow what she's saying, whether it's interviews, it's a story, anything. The extravagant language is unnecessary and appears less authentic and even more hard to believe.
By him grabbing my head, mostly on my right side, the impact of which was significant in and of itself. He grabs my
The impact in and of itself was significant enough for her to recall, she's claiming. Yet 2 seconds ago, she couldn't even remember how she was aided in getting up. And trigger warning, she lays it on thick right here, and it doesn't become any easier to follow.
He grabs my head, takes a fistful of my hair and says, I hit your eye, huh? Let me see your eye. Let me see your eye. What if I pull your hair back? And he yanks my head back, and he's, I don't know, smacking my face or moving my face, and he's got me by the hair, and he's, it's hard to describe. It's like yanking me from side to side with my hair.
Are you standing up at this time?
Yeah.
Okay. And has he pulled?
Yeah, like a little kid or something. And she's like graphically or theatrically or histrionically explaining this, and then it's fine like 2 seconds later.
Pulled out any hair from your head?
He's still holding on to my head.
Okay.
At this time, and he said, I don't know if he's trying to grab my face or if he's hitting my face or I don't know what's happening, but he's yelling at me, he's screaming about let's see how hard I hit you, and I'm screaming at the top of my lungs.
Okay.
Help, please help. I guess I say call 911. I'm screaming for help, not just in case Io is on the phone, which I don't know because the phone is somewhere after hitting my face. I don't know where it ricocheted and bounced up to, but it's on the floor. I can only hope she's on the line, but I know and guess security is somewhere, and even though they...
And this next part about security, and they never respond. Ever.
They never respond when I'm screaming help, ever. I'm screaming help as loud as I can. I had also text Rocky previous. It's amping up. He's getting crazy again. Please, I need you to come over.
Girl was just asked every which way whether or not Johnny's gotten physical before this or not, and whether or not he had broken things, and she answered no to both of those. But apparently text Rocky that it was getting crazy again and amping up. Make it make sense.
Because I thought another third party might be... a third party being present helps always to...
I think somebody should make a song to her hand motions in this next part. To, and like, her hands, just watch.
Is it your testimony?
Calm things.
Is it your testimony, Ms.
Can we
Hurd?
take a break,
that-
please?
No.
She's upset. She's upset.
She's
Clear
not-
that she's crying and she's upset, Blair. How could you possibly force her to answer
Because I
questions?
see-
So look right there, she starts to tell her lawyer she's okay or it's okay and to continue. But he's more upset than she is. So we've almost made it to the end. You've made it this far.
When she's
The
crying
witness
and
is not
upset.
upset and hasn't requested. Do you
I'm
need to take a
requesting on her
break,
behalf.
Ms. Hurd?
Yes.
Yes.
Let the record reflect Mr. Harder's answering for Ms. Hurd, yes,
answered as
and Ms.
well.
Hurd has responded yes. We'll take a break and go off record at
I answered as well.
this time.
This marks the end of media number 3 in the video deposition of Amber Depp. The time is approximately 5:17.
So yes, she's put herself through this. She created this. And as for those listening, whoever's made it this far, you did it. You made it through this painful deposition, and I appreciate you watching. Hope you have a wonderful day or night, and I'll talk to you again soon.
And we're going off the record.
I know I just concluded, but some of the documents were shared in the beginning of this. Now, I just wanted to revisit this part because in the last video, we watched her say she didn't puke at Coachella, so on and so forth, and other declarations made. And the documents are interesting to read here. It says that she and her girlfriend spent much of the time at Coachella intoxicated. She threw up at least once in the parking lot of the Parker and was clearly dehydrated at the time. And I had to obtain ginger ale and crackers for her. I did take one photo of Amber's group on Friday night at Coachella, which is attached as Exhibit A. I last heard from Amber on Thursday, May 12th. She asked me if she could call me and said she has a blocked phone number. This text is attached as Exhibit B to this declaration. I did not respond to that text. In the many years I have worked for Johnny Depp, I have never seen him use physical force on Amber in any way, nor have I seen any marks, bruises, or injuries on Amber that suggest she has suffered abuse by Johnny. In fact, I understand that Amber has alleged Johnny committed an act of domestic violence on the night of April 21st. When I arrived at the residence the following day to drive Amber to Coachella, I saw no marks. And this one says, as I was leaving Miss Heard's company on December 16, 2015, I overheard Miss Heard say to her friend Raquel Pennington, who came to the show with her, make sure to get those pictures onto my computer, although I did not know to what photos she was referring. And then we read the highlighted part. So then at the bottom it says, 3 days after my encounter with Miss Heard on May 27th, 2016, I saw in the media that Miss Heard had gone to court with prominent injuries visible on her face. I knew that she did not have those marks on her face May 24th, 2016 when I was with her. And I knew from news reports, and that's when it says that it was Mr. Depp that was accused of it. So to this day, even just yesterday, her sister posted about Johnny being on the VMAs and how it was a disgrace and she stands with Amber. But I just don't understand how anybody can with all the evidence. If you watch the entire trial, I just don't understand.